A new safety campaign is underway in South River. I'm Jill Horner. This is Comcast Local Edition. With me this hour is Mayor Raymond Eppinger of the Borough of South River. Thanks so much for being with us, Mayor.
Thanks for having me back.
This is your Signs, Lines, and Safety campaign. We're talking about minor issues that add up to big quality of life concerns in a community.
Exactly. This is one of those situations where, again, you may not think about it until something is done in your neighborhood. Basically, what we've decided to do, and have sent some resources out to take care of, is repainting of crosswalks, fire hydrant notifications, and replacing street signs that may have been down for a number of years in basically the entire borough.
Why is this an important component of quality of life? Were you starting to hear from constituents about these issues?
Well, it was interesting. We were hearing about things such as we're seeing a street sweeper. We had purchased a new street sweeper earlier this year, and people had been mentioning, we haven't seen a street sweeper in our neighborhood in a number of years, and now we're seeing it on a regular basis. And it got some of us to thinking, well, you know what? That's a very simple thing to be addressing. And so we were also getting prepared, because it's that time of the year for going back to school. And one of the programs that we've always undertaken with Middlesex County is to have our crosswalks in our walk to school zone areas redone. And what we've really done this year is we've budgeted money and resources to expand that to the entire community.
So that's just one of the things that is taking place. Of course, it's important for kids who are walking to school to have those lines painted clearly so that drivers can really see where these children are walking. But in terms of the signage around the community, what are some of the things that you're working to address?
Well, number one is street signs. The street people have noticed that now all of a sudden most of the signs in town are back up. That is marking streets, and you say, well, that's something simple, but it wasn't being done. It was something that was constantly being cut from the budget. We've literally spent in the 2009 budget almost $40,000 in replacing various signs and markings. In addition to the crosswalks, we're also marking out fire hydrants, we're marking out no parking zones. And again, what's really been interesting is the response. I can almost tell you on a day-to-day basis what neighborhoods our public works employees are getting to, because I'm getting phone calls and emails about, hey, thanks for getting that done. Again, something small, but something tangible that a resident can see that we haven't forgotten about them and that their tax money is going for the little things as well as the big things.
That's one of the things you're doing, but when we talk about repainting crosswalks or replacing a sign that has come down over the years, what does this mean in terms of overall safety for your community?
Well, it does address that in a very important way, because again, you have people parking in no parking zones. You have people now clearly being able to see where crosswalks are for children and people out, whether they're walking to school or just walking their neighborhoods. It really is a fundamental component of neighborhood life in basically South River is a semi-urban environment. It's a small town, 2.8 square miles with 16,000 people. So there's a lot of traffic. There's a lot of pedestrians. People are out enjoying the nice weather, and we really do want to make sure that people, when they're driving, can clearly find out where they are, so they're paying attention, but also to allow people who are outside walking and biking or whatever, they can clearly cross streets safely.
This has been so important as an issue for your community that you've actually dedicated 2 individuals from Public Works to actually work on this solely.
They have been assigned to this, and in fact, we just purchased a new piece of equipment to paint the lines to make this project go more quickly. Some things still have to be painted by hand, some of the yellow markings on curbs and things of that nature, but it is that important. And again, the reaction we're getting from the community is very positive. Again, a sign that their tax money is going for the day-to-day quality of life issues as well. I think one of the problems is many people get involved in local government, and they run and they get involved and they get elected, and they have some very large plans. And sometimes we forget that the basics, that day-to-day stuff, the garbage collection, the snow plowing, the pothole maintenance, that's where you need to start. Before you can move on to bigger and better ideas, you've got to take care of the basics. And I think this is a project is really seeming to score some points at home.
All right, thanks so much, Mayor.
Thanks for having me.
We've been talking with Mayor Raymond Eppinger of the Borough of South River. I'm Jill Horner for Comcast Local Edition. South River police officers are making a presence in communities. I'm Jill Horner. This is Comcast Local Edition. With me this hour is Mayor Raymond Eppinger of the Borough of South River. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Many new police initiatives underway in South River, but I want to first start with something very new, and that's your new police chief.
Yes. On August 31st, after 42 years of service to the borough, Chief Wes Bomba has retired, and his deputy, John Bouthelette, was appointed the chief of police. We had a very nice ceremony at the middle school. Over 100 people attended. Chiefs from around the county showed up, the prosecutor's office. Real nice affair, real nice send-off for Chief Bomba, and a real nice welcome for Chief Bouthelette.
After replacing someone who has been a police officer in a community for 42 years, what is that transition period like? Is it a smooth transition because this police officer had already been a part of this community? It
has really been very, very smooth, and it's a credit to the department and obviously to Wes and to John. They've been working together to make this transition as seamless and as smooth as possible, and it really has allowed John to hit the ground running.
And these two men had worked together for a number of years as well.
They've worked together a number of years, and earlier I think it was in the winter of 2000, they were both shot in the line of duty at the same time, and they basically, thank God, recovered and came back to duty, and we've been a very grateful community for their service.
In addition to your new police chief, you've had some community-based programs in place, including community policing. What do you mean by community policing, and what kind of difference are you seeing?
When we talk about community policing, we are really talking about allowing the officers in the police department to interact with the officers. For example, we have foot patrols reinstated in the downtown business area. We've also reinstated bike patrols. The PBA and the police department have been active in the fishing derby, active in National Night Out, bike rodeos, DARE programs, senior and junior police academies, where both our seniors and our youth have had an opportunity to go through a week of simulated what it's like to become a police officer. So both under Wes and now really under John is this whole push to let the residents know that the police officers are there for them and to serve them, and the best way to do that is to have them interacting.
This kind of interaction comes from these one-on-one relationships, but what kind of difference can things like bike patrols and then your foot patrols in your business district actually have on the community and on policing as a whole? I
think part of it is obviously we do believe there's a direct correlation between a decrease in crime and these type of programs. But also is that also very important is perception. As the chief and Chief Bouthelette and I always like to talk about, many times perception is reality. If the residents of South River and the merchants, say for example in the downtown area, see that police presence, then there's that belief, which is true, that the downtown business area is a safe place to shop, to go to restaurants, to do whatever, take care of your banking business or whatever is in the South River downtown area. So those are the type of things where you actually get that sense and that feeling that by seeing the officers, by being able to interact with them, and them getting to know the people, what's really going on in town, and that sense of community and safety really starts to come through. That's
something that you've been working toward through a variety of different programs, including the efforts undertaken by the police. But what are some of the unique challenges for your community? You are a densely populated borough, but talk to us a little bit about what that means in terms of how you need to police.
One of our biggest issues that we're dealing with is an influx of new immigrants to the community. South River has always been a community of immigrants, whether in the turn of the last century it was the Poles, the Germans, the Irish, the Italians, the Hungarians. Now we're seeing an influx of Portuguese, which has been going on for the last 20 or so years, and a lot of now Spanish speaking people. So we're trying to also gear our policing efforts to, we've hired some of our last two. We have 2 officers now who speak fluent Spanish and a couple that speak fluent Portuguese, because those are members of our community that we need to embrace and make sure that they feel comfortable and part of our community.
All right, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
We've been talking with Mayor Raymond Eppinger of the Borough of South River. I'm Jill Horner.